I, 39F, grew up being the victim of a lot of violence. If you can imagine it, it probably happened to me. So I admit that my PTSD most likely skews some events in my brain into being worse than they actually are. This is why I created this post, to see if this was all something small I blew up in my head or if it is something I should genuinely be worried about. My husband, 35 male, was the one who rescued me from a life of abuse and showed me by example what a life of freedom, partnership, and love was really like. He grew up without his father in his life because, as he was told by his mother, his father just stopped showing up to spend time with him after his parents split. He was raised by his mother and stepfather. In time, my parents sought help for their alcoholism and depression and became actual parents, albeit at long distance as I had moved away with my husband to be free from abusers. My emotional success in finally having a parental relationship that I had never had before inspired my husband to reach out to find his father. I never pushed or encouraged this, just simply told my husband to follow his heart. He found his father on Facebook and the two began to try to get to know each other. According to his father, and court papers he presented to my husband as proof, he had been ordered to stay away from my husband. He never chose to stay away. This shook my husband. Thus began an attempt by them both to try to bond where they had never been given a chance to. This has been happening for about a year now. We have 4 kids, soon to be 5 in February, 16 years girl, 3 years girl, 18 mo boy, and a 6 mo girl. My husband's father and stepmother come over to our home every couple of weeks to visit and have lunch/supper with us. The issue is how they treat our oldest daughter in comparison to our other kids. They will ask to take her to their home to spend time with her, take her out to eat/shopping, etc., but never make efforts for the younger ones except when they come to visit us. They have a home full of very expensive, and fully insured, home decor and they say that they worry the younger ones would damage their decor. They also say that they just aren't comfortable around young kids. Our 3-year-old takes a lot of time to get used to people, but she is starting to get used to grandma and grandpa now. The last time they took our oldest daughter out all day, our 3-year-old was always asking when they were coming back to see her too. When they did, they simply dropped our oldest daughter off and left to go back home. It broke my heart. Another issue I feel is their need for my husband and I to explain decisions regarding our oldest daughter as well. When she had exams for her school last year and they wanted to take her to their home, I had to explain that she needed to study for her exams. They tried saying she could study there, they could help her, etc., but their home is seen as a fun time, not a work time. They have a hot tub, 2 big dogs, lots of desserts, and are always spoiling her with things she will enjoy. It isn't exactly an atmosphere suitable to proper studying. Then her exams grades came back. Our daughter failed over half of them, showing our point about her needing proper studying. Then there is the matter of our oldest misbehavior. She is a teenager. This comes with attitude by definition. As we strive to place proper boundaries and consequences, as well as trying to teach her necessary life skills for adulthood, like occasionally cooking, taking out the trash, doing dishes, laundry, etc., my husband's stepmother will call. She speaks for both her and my husband's father a lot, as we can hear him in the background when she calls, adding to the conversation in these moments. His stepmother has said that our daughter shouldn't have to do any chore/task for anyone other and herself. To an extent, I agree with this. However, in 2 years she will be a legal adult. There are skills she needs to learn to succeed as an adult. And I hate having to go into a 15 to 30 minute long explanation for our parenting decisions that they disagree with before they stop bringing it up. Especially when it comes to consequences, like taking away her phone/computer. One of our oldest daughter's biggest struggles comes from communication. There are times that our oldest daughter either holds everything in until she explodes, or she yells over every little thing she doesn't like. So when these moments happen, she of course gets a consequence. When my husband's father and stepmother learn of our oldest daughter getting a privilege taken away, they push and push for her to be able to come over to their home to talk about her feelings, and they can't do that in our home apparently because it is more conducive to reaching her if she is out of her usual environment. So, after them insisting for a couple of months, after a particularly loud shouting match from our daughter, my husband and I finally gave in and let her go to talk to them. Our oldest daughter came back hours later. She had gotten to get in their hot tub, went shopping for some new clothes, and got her hair dyed blue. It felt like to me that she got rewarded for her poor behavior, which was what I had feared would happen. This was a few weeks ago. Last week, we were heading out to a restaurant as a family when they called and wanted to pick our oldest daughter up to have supper with them. The restaurant was a surprise reward for our oldest daughter for an entire week of no attitude. She had no idea where we were going. Rather than tell his father on the phone where our oldest daughter would hear our surprise, my husband told his father simply not today, and we thought that was the end of it. We got a call from my husband's stepmother today that made me realize how deep this all has been getting. She told my husband that his father, who was in the background, was deeply hurt by us being reluctant to let our oldest daughter go to their home. His stepmother also brought up our 3-year-old's recent birthday. We had 2 parties, one on Saturday and one on Sunday, because some family had to work on one day and some had to work on another day. His stepmother said his father felt like we were hiding them and keeping them a secret from my husband's mother's side. I will admit that my husband and I both have hoped to avoid conflict from the past issues being dragged out around our children. They are innocent and they don't need to find themselves in the middle of an old family war. But we aren't actively keeping anyone a secret. Our kids openly talked about my husband's father and stepmother in front of my husband's mother's side. I don't know exactly what more they are expecting/wanting, but I don't feel comfortable at all with their expressed feelings/insistence that my husband's mother learn of the relationship between my husband and his father. After that call, a lot of old feelings of being manipulated and controlled by past abusers took a hold of me and I had a massive panic attack. It felt like an explosion of pain and fighting was looming on the horizon. When I was able to calm down, rather than call her back, I sat down and wrote a letter. I started off by telling them how thankful we were to have them in our lives and for the time they spend with us. Then, I gently wrote about my feelings, about my observations regarding the difference in how our children are treated, the pushing about our parenting, and the hurt they expressed. I was as non-aggressive as I could possibly be because I feared what the response would be if they took the letter the wrong way. Then I shared it in a group chat that contained only me, my husband, and my husband's father. I wanted to send it to his father directly without the middleman of his stepmo there so it wouldn't be taken the wrong way. Then I waited nervously, hoping that he would feel my genuine intent to repair slighted feelings so we could move forward as a family. My husband's father replied back an hour later. He screenshotted my messages and sent them directly to my husband, even though my husband was there in that 3-person group chat. My husband replied simply, "I know. I am in that chat. And I agree." His father's response was perfect. "See you next time." What does that even mean? Is he upset? My husband and I are both confused but are not going to try to push for further communication on the matter. I am really nervous as to what he might mean by that and what it means for our children. As a result, my husband is soundly sleeping next to me after 1 a.m. and I am typing this up to try to get it out of my mind so I can sleep. Am I making too big of a deal about this? Should I be worried or should I just let it go? Update 1. We messaged my husband's father to invite him over to our home on Saturday for supper so we could talk to him face to face. We informed him we were planning to make spaghetti for us and our kids and welcomed him to join us. He did not respond and instead my husband's stepmother called us on his father's phone. Like always, we could hear his father in the background but his father was choosing to not talk on the phone himself. My husband's stepmother simply said that she would call back to discuss things when our kids went to bed for the night so we wouldn't be busy. We were disappointed that, once again, there was no communication from his father. So we went on with our day and waited. After our kids were in bed, my husband's stepmother did indeed call, again on his father's phone and again we could hear his father in the background fully aware of the conversation. We could hear him faintly speaking to her as she spoke to us. His stepmother said that they were hurt, once again, but this time it was our letter that hurt them. She said that the letter made it seem like we felt they were interfering with our parenting, particularly the parts about mentioning our oldest daughter and our 3-year-old daughter's birthday parties. We both told her that is because that is how we felt. She said that my husband's father was extremely hurt by this. My husband bluntly said to her that he would like to hear this straight from his father and not from her. She said at first that my husband's father has issues with expressing his feelings. So my husband pointed out that if his father has issues with expressing his feelings, why has he been wanting to talk to our oldest daughter at their place when she has difficulty communicating with us? His stepmother then changed her words to say that what he wants to say would come out wrong. My husband gently pointed out that this is still a similar issue to what our daughter has been experiencing, so we feel that, once again, he isn't really qualified to push to try to pull our daughter to their home to try to help her with communicating. This, in effect, made our point about the interference in this particular area. There was a pause and then his stepmother said that they want to now take a step back to see how they feel about the whole thing before they call back and talk further or before they plan to see the kids again. Is this just my PTSD making me imagine things, or does this feel like one big emotional game of shuffle the hurt or guilt trip? I don't know what is going to happen from here, but our priority is to make sure that our kids aren't placed in the middle of a family war. Edit to add, I forgot a very important part of the call. I am very proud of our oldest daughter. During the time between the calls, she did a lot of mature reflecting on the whole situation. She grabbed the phone on her own and told my husband's stepmother that she would prefer if they came to our home in the future to visit so that her siblings can see them as well. Now on to second story. Husband ignored my doctor's warnings, pressured me into sex leading to a pregnancy scare, and now he's desperate for forgiveness. I, F24, am currently 33 weeks pregnant with his, male 31, baby. When I was 20 weeks pregnant my doctor diagnosed me with placenta previa, which if you don't know is basically when the placenta for my baby is covering the opening in my cervix. They told me it would likely move as my baby grew but it never did. So I am scheduled for a C-section in just 3 weeks. At 20 weeks I was put on very light restrictions but at 30 I got put on heavier restrictions, like no running, no lifting or climbing, no standing for longer than 3 hours at a time, and most importantly no sex and no vaginal exams. Because my doctor told me that we want absolutely nothing to potentially make me bleed which could lead to preterm birth. So I have been doing this all for 3 weeks but it has been driving my husband fucking insane. Every single day he bothers me for sex. Every single Day. Every single day I tell him I can't, and remind him of the restrictions. I don't even want to have sex anyway, my tummy is so big and I am always exhausted. He doesn't really like those answers. Finally he came to me and started going on about how doctors sometimes dramatize things for the sake of their careers and more money. He said they push for C-sections. I was like, okay, whatever, but I know that I have this condition. Obviously I'm going to follow the rules. He didn't take the answer and we ended up having sex. For a few hours after, I was having really heavy bleeding and I got so scared. I was crying in the bathroom, trying to figure out what to do. I ended up calling my doctor and she told me to come in right away. The whole car ride there I was just sobbing, imagining that in an hour I would be having a C-section for an only 33-week-old baby. We quickly figured out that I am not in preterm labor, I was just bleeding and as long as it stops it will be okay. It did and I am fine. But while I was there my doctor asked my husband to leave and started asking me questions. She asked me if I did anything I wasn't supposed to do. She was like, this isn't accusatory, it's okay, it's just better to know if it was caused by something or random. I told her that I had sex. She just went over all the things again and then gave me a bunch of information on domestic violence. She put them in my purse for me, literally. I was so embarrassed. When we got into the car I broke down and yelled at my husband, telling him to never do that to me again and telling him that my doctor knows more than him and knows what is best for me and the baby. He apologized and I could tell he really meant it. I have still been holding a grudge for days and he's been groveling for days. He asked me how long I was going to make him apologize. I told him at least until the baby is born. Ada for that? Update 1. So originally my plan was to tell my doctor and my SIL, maybe my brother, but I wasn't looking forward to discussing those details with him. I rescheduled my weekly appointment with my doctor for TMR. I know some people said I would be able to just walk in, but I didn't want to do it and then have make some excuse to my husband. The comments made me realize the severity of the situation and honestly I am terrified. So I called my SIL when she got off work and we had a really long conversation. I mentioned in the comments, but my SIL and brother have never really liked my husband, especially my SIL. She was very supportive and kind and we talked for a long time. I guess I can admit now that it wasn't just sex, it was rape. We talked about that more than anything else. And she cleared the whole confusion thing up very quickly. I told her a lot of the things my mom excused because she likes my husband, and my SIL was livid. I guess I kinda knew she always would be, which is why I never told her. She ended up telling me to talk to my doctor and she will talk to my brother and we will see what's going on. She said she will come down on the soonest flight, but my brother cannot come yet because they do have children of their own. I was content with that though, and my appointment with my doctor is tomorrow. So my husband got home kinda early and saw how I was upset. I really was planning on getting myself together before he came home, but I did not have time. Still, I was not going to tell him anything, but he was being so kind, which he really usually is. I know that's hard to believe, but it's true. But today especially he was so kind and so worried about me. I know it was stupid to explain the situation, but I did. I don't know why. I'm just used to telling him my problems, I guess. It was a mistake and I know that. I am really trying not to be so stupid anymore, but it's hard to switch from thinking about him as my loving and caring husband to my husband who is hurting me. So I told him that, and how he hurt me, and honestly I'm scared now. He was like, what? How? I said by forcing me to have sex, by literally forcing my legs apart and telling me to calm down. He was like, oh my fucking god, don't fucking say that. That's a crime, do you understand that? Do you understand you just accused me of martial rape? And pushed me away from him. I started to apologize, and he started to say it was okay and do that thing where he acts like I'm dumb again. So I finally like, yeah actually, I really do understand that now. It isn't right and it is martial rape. It resulted in a huge argument, once again. He called me an idiot for even daring to say those words. I called him an abuser and he literally laughed. He was like, who are you talking to? You don't know what you're talking about, and started to go on and on about things I don't know about. He said sex with his wife isn't rape, no matter how you split it. I ended up trying to just walk away, but he grabbed me by my wrist. I snatched my hand away and he held up his hands, was like, oh I'm sorry, that might be considered battery of a pregnant woman, if we're going by your definitions. The condescending tone is what really drove me to the edge, and I told him I don't want to be around him. He was like, fine, I'll go. I said no, I want to go. I want to be away from you. He threw the credit card at me and told me to go get a hotel then. So I did. And here I am, typing this now. And my SIL is on her way right now, but I am so far from okay. He's called me several times but I won't answer. I've never seen him that angry before. I am slightly concerned what he will do if I genuinely tell him I want to leave and take the baby. He is the one who wanted to have a child, and I was convinced. It won't let me take her easily, and that terrifies me. Every time my daughter kicks I just want to sob. I never thought that my own baby would make me cry like this. But I am just so scared. Update 2. August 7th I posted my update, and I mentioned having Braxton Hicks for the first time. I was urged to go to the hospital. I originally wasn't going to, but thank goodness that I did, because by the time I walked in the door, I was bleeding so heavily it was down my legs. Turns out I had a placental abruption. August 7th at 10:37 p.m., my daughter was born via emergency C-section. She is now only less than old as I post this, but I am being forced to deal with an attorney and all of this already. She was only 33 weeks and 5 days when she was born. She is tiny, but still doing relatively well, so they tell me. She is in the NICU now and I am in the hospital still as well. I have received lots of care, and while it is all scary and hard, seeing my daughter makes it better. I'm fine, I will be fine, and so will she. The nurses here are amazing, and the doctor told me as long as everything goes well, I get to take my daughter home in just a few weeks. 3 As for my situation, my SIL came shortly after my daughter was born, and she's been by my side all day and very supportive. The attorney advised us to allow my husband visitation with my daughter while she is still in the NICU, so I did. I do not have a concern of him hurting our daughter while in the hospital or anything like that. I have received lots of supportive messages from his co-workers and his side of the family, so I am sure he is spinning the story that we are together and everything is fine. He is trying to act like that too. He's seen our daughter several times today, and I think that he was in the hospital with me during the C-section, but I am honestly not sure. He came up to my room this morning while the nurses were helping me take that first walk after the C-section. I was just emotional enough to let him in. I have to be honest and say it wasn't easy to try and hate him after all of this. I still let him comfort me and I still cried to him. But at the end, when he said you wouldn't have had to do this alone if you weren't acting that way, and grabbed my face to make me kiss him, it reminded me of why exactly I am doing this. So yeah, I am not so sure what I'm going to do. Originally I really wanted to have my daughter in my home state so that I could stay there with her and my SIL and brother, but I highly doubt my husband will allow me to take her there. My attorney says I have options, and the options are heavily in my favor, as I did what you all suggested and got the medical records of the rapes, including the one I posted about and 2 more I went to the hospital for over the years, as well as in writing my doctor saying that my placental abruption was likely caused by trauma and stress, for custody and stuff like that, but likely only here where we currently live. Honestly, that's okay. Being able to briefly hold my baby and seeing her and loving her so much has replaced much else in my mind. I want to be safe, but I want her safe most of all. I won't do anything to put her in the situation I was in. She is only 16 hours old, and she is all I think about, and will ever think about for the rest of my life. I probably won't update again, as I am hoping they will let me spend more time with my daughter soon, but I just wanted to say that this whole post literally changed my life, and I cannot say thank you enough. If anyone else finds themselves in this sort of situation, I want to say do not be scared to speak up. And if anyone has survived it, you're so brave.